welcome to the Global Voices Unplugged. This is your all international student podcast show. This is where we talk student lifestyle, student academics, student opportunities, and everything else that comes with being an international student, living life outside your home country, and many more. And well, joining us today, I am very honored and very much humbled to be joined by the most prominent people when we talk of, international student life, international student journey. We have the most important people today, the most significant. To my left, please help me welcome Mr. Steven. Welcome to the show. He serves as the Dean. We have the Dean for the Contra Costa College Community International Student Office. And also we have Ms. Fu Yanfei, who is the International Student Advisor for Diablo Valley College. Please welcome in.
Thanks, Aaron. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, I'm very honored to have you guys here today. So before we go any further, I would like to, just get a little bit of a clarity in terms of the difference between, your office as the Dean and Ms. Yanfei as an international student advisor. Like, what's the big difference? What do you do as the Dean?
Yeah, so if you kind of think of the international student journey, my office focuses on the front end of that more. So before they actually come to DVC.
Mm-hmm.
So primarily the responsibility centers on contacting international student recruitment.
Okay.
So bringing students here. We work with a lot of partners around the world. So about 140 partners in different countries that help also bring students in. So that's our kind of primary focus. And then my secondary focus is supporting the international student offices at our three colleges, so Contra, Costa College, Diablo Valley College, and Los Paternos College.
Okay.
So that's Yanfei's world is more of the international student services side once they arrive at enroll at DVC.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And how about you, Ms. Yanfei? What do you focus on?
Yes. So we're focusing on the whole international student journey.
Okay.
From the date that they are being admitted into DVC, then we'll get them prepared for their arrival at DVC, what they need to do in terms of getting prepared physically as well as for their classes.
Okay.
Once they get to DVC, then we host a check-in day to welcome them to the community and go over the most important information with them on their F1 student status, as well as academic preparation.
Okay.
So to get them ready. Throughout their studies at DVC, we organize all kinds of events to have check-ins, and any questions that they have, they can come to our office. And we also host different cultural events throughout, including next month we're hosting the transfer fair, and students can come over and through us talking to many different universities, and all the way through that when they get out of DVC, transfer to 4 years, getting their certificate.
Okay, so you are more hands-on with the students than the dean's office.
Yeah, so we work, I neglected to mention, so international admissions is under our office responsibility as well. So we're basically helping to raise awareness of DVC in our two colleges abroad as potential options for students, most of them looking for a 2+2 academic pathway to a bachelor's degree.
Yes.
We're raising that awareness and then helping to bring them here.
Okay.
And then once they're admitted, we kind of hand the baton, as Yanfei said, to DVC. They help in terms of contacting with orientation, adjustment, and then ongoing support.
Yeah, because I know when you apply to DVC, you apply it's Contra Costa College Community, and then you go through that, you create the profile, and then you then apply to a specific school.
Right. So we rebranded in terms of global recruitment as the Colleges of Contra Costa. That's our brand name. So we don't use the district because that name, that word doesn't make sense to anybody outside of the district.
Yeah.
And so we rebranded, we created a separate website, and then kind of to use a Golden Gate Bridge metaphor, we created one channel, one stream coming in. So there's one application. In that application, based on best fit, they would choose DVC in the respective program of study the DVC offers. So.
And what made you specifically want to work with international students?
So my seed was planted over 30 years ago when I did study abroad for the first time, when I lived abroad for the first time in Spain. When I returned from that, I didn't have much clarity on what job I wanted, but I knew that I wanted to work with international students, and I got into teaching.
Okay.
I went outside the U.S. to teach, so I lived abroad a lot, and that really kind of cultivated my passion for working with and learning from people from different backgrounds.
Okay.
And so I knew that one thread I wanted to have to my work was interacting with people from around the world.
Connecting. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So you talk about you went outside the US to teach.
Yeah.
Where exactly?
So different countries. The first time was in Brazil.
Okay.
So I went to Brazil. I graduated from college and I bought a one-way plane ticket at the time. My parents thought I was absolutely crazy. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a place to live, but I had I'm dating myself, but a pen pal. So before email was just starting. So I was writing letters to a pen pal that I met as a friend, and she invited me to come stay with her family and I could look for jobs. So I did that. So I did that and moved into in São Paulo, which is a huge city.
In Brazil.
Moved in with strangers that didn't speak any English, and learned Portuguese faster that way, and got a job. And
also, you speak Portuguese.
I do, yeah.
Bom dia. Bom dia, como está?
Tô bem, we'll see.
Okay, so we learned that you have your own background as an international student. So how are you channeling that in to the international students who are coming into the United States? Because you know how it feels. How did it feel for you as an international student? You're moving into a new country. You've never been there before. You don't know anyone. Different languages. Like, how that experience that you used to navigate it, how are you bringing that experience into the now international students?
Yeah, so well, just to clarify, studying abroad at with a university, the different study abroad or study away models. I wouldn't say that was the best prep for it, but living abroad in general, and then specifically focusing on education and teaching, like teachers in different countries. And I actually did one of my degrees in Canada, which may seem very similar to the U.S., but it was very different.
How so?
The support office. So, for example, there is an international student office that the university I went to, but there's much less hand-holding, I would say. There's a lot more. Students are expected to knock on doors more.
Do it yourself.
Do it yourself more.
Okay.
A lot of different variations. So even work opportunities, stuff like that varied. But I think the key takeaway to answer your question is it really raised awareness at different phases of the journey.
Okay.
About similarities and differences. So from just looking for programs and best fit, that search process different, to obtaining visa differences and what do you need to obtain a visa, going through that process as an international student, to the arrival and the whole adjustment, orientation, or the lack of orientation that you may get or not get, that really expose things, to also classroom, like cultural, they're, I think, one of the most emphasized aspects of the adjustment is the cultural differences in teaching and learning.
Okay.
So not just teacher expectations, student expectations in the classroom. So a lot of countries, the participation is not a grade.
Yeah.
Right. So here in the U.S., what does that mean? What does that mean when you have homework? You're expected to not just read it, but return to the class the next day and be prepared to talk about it, summarize it, et cetera. Out of class office hours, that concept of office hours. So it's a foreign concept in some places, or even the system in general. In many countries around the world, I don't know about South Africa, but higher education, your courses are already decided. You're set.
Yeah.
You don't have to choose
you don't
the general education, all
you
that.
Don't choose
you
modules,
typically go in with one major,
Mm-hmm.
and if you change your mind, you have to kind of rewind and go back to the start and start again.
Yeah.
So all of those differences, the counseling, the advising, there are a lot of cultural nuances there. So that awareness, I think, is really important, and also something that I kind of brought with me as well. And then working kind of in Yanfei's shoes before, I've done a lot of student, I've been on the front lines with students in most of my positions. Now I'm not. So this is the first time I'm not, but I've worked as an international advisor, student club advisor, taking students on trips and all that kind of thing. And so that there's just a lot of ongoing learning in terms of adjustment students have to make from different countries, different cultures. There's also things on, working on campus to just the notion of getting involved on campus, which may differ in some countries than it does in the U.S., where students are expected to get engaged and volunteer and do on-campus work, and then the notion of transfer as well, looking at that. So there are a lot of things along the spectrum of the student journey that are different. So I think just raising awareness of those differences.
Okay, that's awesome. And Ms. Yanfei, why an international student advisor? Why did you choose that as a career?
Okay, it's a long journey. When I graduated from universities in China, I really wanted to study abroad. So as myself, I studied in the northeast part of the U.S. For graduate school, and later on for my doctoral program. And then I really loved education, also with peers, because I taught languages. A lot of students are interested in learning the language. After my doctoral program, I went back to China and directed study abroad program. So receiving American students in China for 10 years. And that was really really engaging, as well as very fun, because I taught language and showed them partners with Chinese students, also host families, and a lot of cultural integration, also opportunities for internships, for work, and also took them to field trips all over China. And that was just definitely a very good time to know the students, showing them another, open their eyes towards a very, very different culture. All the history, the food, the geography, everything. And then see how the bonding, the connections that people make over their stay, and even for very, very long-lasting journeys afterwards. So it's kind of in my education, but also my passion to build connections between people and see people learning new skills, new language, and immersed in that. I think we grow a lot through experience different cultures.
Exactly, we do. It changes a lot of things. You get to learn different cultures, different people, and everything. And how are you doing that now as an international student advisor? Are there any programs that you are doing as an advisor that, you feel that you are actually doing what you want to do?
Yes. Now, I'm on the other side, right?
Exactly,
having international students coming over this way, right?
Yeah.
So it's really from the day one, before they even come here, through the pre-departure orientations to get them knowing what to expect. In terms of living over here, what it looks like, to the academic, what Steven was talking about, the different culture, as well as academic expectations, way of teaching, as well as assessment, everything, right?
Exactly.
So to get them knowing that aspects, as well as from day one, when they come over here, I run a program called Global Connect mentorship program. So this way will connect the new students with experienced DVC students. So they have a peer that they can ask questions to build that connection, to not get lost, totally lost, or don't know anybody in a new environment.
It happens.
Right.
Personally, I have that experience where you come in to, you just arrived. You don't know who to talk to, you and you, right? You don't know who to talk to. It's a completely different language. It's different everything. And also that brings me to something that I also wanted to touch on, the thing of different accents and everything. Have you ever had any challenges with student insecurities because of how, they sound differently? I think, say for an example, I know for a fact that if you meet let me say an American citizen, and I talk to them on a normal day, they're gonna ask me questions like, where you from? Where you from? You sound, where you from? And I know for a fact, I've been talking to a couple of people, it ends up being uncomfortable. Everywhere you go, someone's gonna ask you, so where you come from? Blah, 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 those kind of questions. Have you ever had those kind of concerns with your students, or it's completely different?
I think we do. A lot of students, when they are first time coming over here, they feel very intimidated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Like because of language barriers, because of what don't know the cultural norms as well. And especially a lot of students, they don't have that even like super fluent English, right? Or to understand the native speakers.
Yeah.
It's kind of can be very frustrating, or like can keep it to themselves, don't know like really who to talk to and what to do. And that is the peer mentors comes in.
Okay.
Even during the check-in day, we organize usually a student panel for the students to sharing like the experience, international students to sharing their experience. How do they transition from the beginning to where they are? How to make friends and what to do in different situations. I think I hear over and over again, like a lot of experienced students are saying, you got to put yourself out there. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there is a phrase like, not afraid of losing face.
Okay.
Because in a lot of Asian countries, like face, shows a lot. Like people want to protect it of their face to not speak, not like feeling like ashamed or something, even in the classroom. But that doesn't work here.
Yeah,
if they don't participate, there is no participation grades, and that like definitely is detrimental to their grades, right? So through talking on, like, for example, we also have a short-term program called Bridge program, academic Bridge program. Through that, we also work with the faculty to pay attention to the international students.
Okay.
Maybe sometimes like explain a little bit more when there's more terminologies and things difficult to understand.
Okay.
And in small group discussions, maybe like having a little more American students prompting the international students, what do you think? This way to give the turn of conversation to the
make
student,
them more comfortable,
to make them more engaged and more participation.
That's nice. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And another question that I had is, directed to you, Mr. Steven. What makes Contra Costa College? What makes the Contra Costa College colleges the right colleges to enroll to? Say, for students who are in Africa, South Africa, or Brazil, wherever they are, and they'll be watching, and then they'll be like, okay, so DVC, what makes the colleges that you are the dean of the right choice?
Yeah, so I think there are different layers to this. So number one, or I guess one of our challenges is raising awareness about community colleges in general. Like, what is a community college?
What is it?
And why would a student consider it a community college? And why would a student choose a community college for year 1 and 2 compared with a 4-year college or university to start?
Okay.
So we kind of break down those. It's an awareness raising. There are different kind of other advocates out there. There's government, State Department, Education USA offices that also do that work to help raise awareness of U.S. higher education.
Okay.
But that's kind of the first thing that we do, is to help people understand what about community colleges and why. So, for example, we'll talk about the accessibility.
Okay.
So that's in terms of the cost and the cost differences of attending community college versus a lot of 4-year college and universities. Also more accessible in terms of the admission requirements. So it's a lot of 4 years will require either standardized tests, a higher evidence of English language proficiency score in a test, something like that. They may require a certain GPA in high school, whereas we just look at did they finish or not. So those 2 points. Also, we focus a lot on the value of the quality of a community college, but there's misconceptions that, good students will go to university, and the students that don't have the great grades in high school from country XYZ will go directly to a 4-year. So we basically unpack that and raise awareness about the basically, in terms of curriculum, year 1 and 2 is the same almost everywhere in the U.S. in terms of the curriculum. You have your
4-year.
There are a few colleges, universities that have a very unique curriculum and unique approach.
Okay.
But for the most part, you're looking at 70% of courses are going to be general education and electives, and the other 6 or 7 courses in the first 2 years are in the major.
Okay.
You don't really focus on your major till year 3 and 4. But the difference at community college is in year 1 and 2 is, number one, is class size.
Okay.
So you're looking at a class size typically 30, 35 students at a college like DVC. I went to a private university that was smaller than DVC, but in year 1 and 2, I had classes with 200, 300 students for general education. Another difference is 100% of our courses are taught by faculty.
Okay.
So teachers are hired to teach. They're not hired to do research like they are at a university. So as a result, you don't have a biology class that's a lecture by a professor and then a breakout discussion section each week that's led by a graduate student.
Okay.
Or a history class, or a lab that's led by a graduate student for a biology class. So that's something that happens in the 4-year world,
Okay.
both college and universities.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really one of our challenges is helping parents and the influencers, mainly high school counselors, parents, and the students, of course, as well, to understand what are the differences. So if I apply and get admitted to UC Berkeley, for example, why would I not go there
and come to DVC?
DVC.
Yeah.
So one is, are you admitted? Can you get admitted? Much more difficult. Number 2 is the cost, because tuition cost is very different. If you do a 2+2, there you're saving about $80,000 in tuition. Should we show that? We show that with different currencies too.
Okay.
We break that down. But the third point is, are they aware of the differences, the qualitative differences, the day-to-day in terms of the classroom interactions, the interactions with professors,
the engagement they get.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if they are and they're comfortable with that, and that's great, that's fine.
Okay.
But that's one of the value points of coming to us. And then finally, kind of a clincher, especially for DVC students that are more, I would say, more transfer minded than some other community colleges.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking to go to really distinguished 4-year college universities, both inside California and beyond. Is we really focus on the transfer data.
Okay.
So the transfer agreements that are guaranteed transfers within California system, the CSU, the UC system, additional kind of separate agreements that we've created for international transfer student guarantees that are not part of the system guarantees, and then also with transfer opportunities beyond California and beyond the U.S. for that matter. Okay. So we highlight data and all that. So all that together is kind of the package that we present to them in terms of why here. Another thing too, location is obviously huge, and for international students, not as many at the community college level, but in general, it's quite popular to know about off-campus work opportunities. Mm-hmm. And so whether it's curricular practical training or optional practical training, the location does matter. And so being in the Bay Area, where you're really in the hub of innovation,
there's everything
for the U.S. at least, and so many different industries as well, it is easier for students to identify those opportunities to work off campus here than it is in some other locations I've been working at, where students had to go to a different state, different city to find work. So there are other things like that we spotlight as well in terms of opportunities. So.
All right. And for Ms. Yanfei, you as DVC, I know you mentioned the fact that you do like the bridge program and you do those welcoming and everything that you mentioned. Is there anything else that makes DVC, like, do you think out of the 3 colleges that we have in the Contra Costa College community, what makes DVC shine? Why DVC? If we have 3 of them, why would I choose DVC?
I'm not sure to say among the 3, but I would say among all the community colleges in California, yes.
Okay, that's big.
I think DVC really provides a very welcoming community. When you are walking, even when you are in terms of the services that we have at DVC, all the departments, the staff are there. They are eager to help. They're always have a smile on their face when you have questions.
You always do. No, she's always.
When you have questions, the student, it's very, very approachable.
Okay.
When students first come to campus, they'll meet with academic counselors to have an educational plan to basically build their career, their academic path.
Okay.
And they can make appointments with the counselors and make appointment with us for any like F1 related questions. They maybe want to do a CPT or OPT, or to do a reduced course load, or to do something like maybe for program extension or graduate early. It's all possible, right? We are all there to help the students. And the career and transfer services are fantastic at DVC. Yesterday, we just hosted the career fair. Over 60 organizations and companies come to our campus. And there's so many job opportunities, like a part-time, even like full-time, thinking of down the road and things. And for recently, even during the spring break, that students, the Career Transfer Center took students to a SoCal trip to visit many universities. Have you been?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay.
I also attended it,
This one?
Yeah, the one that just happened recently. Yes.
Okay, yes. Yeah. So you visited many universities, right, down the road from here to LA to all the way alongside to San Diego and all the way coming back. And and it's a free service to students.
Exactly.
So I think there's so many resources, like tutoring services, like all the, like even in the library, on-campus jobs. I know many departments are hiring, and international students are eligible to apply.
Get those jobs.
Yes. So we just provide a very abundant like resources as well as staff support for students.
All right.
Can I piggyback on what Yanfei was talking
Go
about?
ahead.
So just to echo what she's saying, I mean, all community colleges in California have similar services. So it's not like the system that's there. I think DVC does an exceptional job with that. I think DVC is constantly innovating and creating new opportunities for students.
New opportunities,
To me, however, what stands out coming from a 4-year world to a community college world is, and this connects to your point, and you're talking about connection and engaging students on campus, is I didn't expect it to be such a beehive of student activity on campus. I thought students would go to class and go home and not really have that connection.
That engagement.
But they're heavily involved in student clubs, on-campus employment, which I think DVC does an amazing job with as well. And then the last point I'd like to make is, to me, what stands out the most, however, about DVC, what really separates it from some of the competitors, is there's a really strong, and Aaron, you could probably speak to this a lot better than we can, like informal culture among the students. So it's not the student support services that exist on campus. It's the culture among the students that it's kind of they bring the new students in, whether it's a formal program like the mentor program that Yanfei cited, or just more organic, where they're really kind of taking the new students under their wings and talking about, hey, if you want to transfer here,
do this.
Yeah,
this
it's not
there, this is
just
there.
for that, but it's for the day-to-day, the networking and the friendships and all that. But that's very strong at DVC, and stronger than I've seen in other community colleges, is that culture among the students, and that just kind of that, I guess, wisdom that they have to share with one another, and that care that the current students have to kind of look out for and take the new students under their wings.
Okay. So I was going to ask, so Ms. Yanfei, after everything that you just said, would you say that DVC is like the best college in California, according to you?
I feel like DVC is very strong, and it provides very wonderful opportunity for students who wants to do like a 4-year degree, first 2 years at DVC, a community college, and then transfer. I think DVC, because of its reputation and then the community, it brings in a very driven group of international students. But it's driven, but however, it's not a competitive environment. I have heard from other top transfers, the environment is very competitive. Like it's students helping each other. They forming a culture of to do well academically, to be very engaged on campus and helping each other, information sharing, all of that. I think that is in our DNA, that the students are kind of enjoying their life on campus.
Okay. So Mr. Steven, she ran away from my question. So would you say DVC is the best college in California?
So I represent the 3 colleges that we have.
Okay, give us the top 5.
So I think altogether, like our district is really special. Our 3 colleges,
Okay.
CCC, DVC, LMC, we say they're different flavors of ice cream.
Okay.
So to answer your question, it depends. It's about student fit.
Okay.
It's not about my perspective. So we provide as much information about different options and different characteristics as possible so that prospective students, their parents, et cetera, can help make the right decision for themselves, because it's a major decision for them. But DVC, I mean, it certainly stands out at or near the very, very top for that. I think in addition to what Yanfei was saying, I agree with the competitive, supportive part. I think DVC is a very supportive environment. I think another point that is noteworthy is the specific location, not just East Bay area.
Okay.
But it's a residential area. I mean, it's suburban overall, but if you look around DVC, there's a high school, homes, and some apartments. It's a quiet, it's a very nice study environment, but students also have convenient access to public transportation to downtown, to the urban areas of downtown San Francisco, to the international airport, and all that. So that's different from a lot of other competitor community colleges that are more like urban environment in terms of safety and all that, those concerns. It's much less of a concern at DVC. So having all those special characteristics put together is what makes DVC unique and stand out for sure.
Okay, so if we were to ask you to give us the top 5 of colleges, you would confidently bring Los Medanos, Contra, Costa, and DVC?
I would.
To the top 5?
Yeah, I would. I would.
That's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. And also, one more thing that we also want to talk about is, the misconception of, from that international students come in with your experience. Like, what have you seen as one of those biggest misconceptions, those biggest challenges that international students come with? I know you made mention of stuff like, there's the difference in culture and everything, but in terms of academics, like what has been those standing out obstacles that you've witnessed?
I think language is definitely one. Making friends initially is one. Navigating the public transportation in the U.S. is difficult. But as Steven said, luckily that DVC locates in a residential beautiful area. There's parks, trails right behind us. However, the BART system, also the public buses are all accessible. That can take students to many different downtowns, like to Pleasant Hill downtown, Walnut Creek, San Francisco, or Silicon Valley. It's all possible. And even to go, like students living in those apartments, there's different options for students to live over there, and then can go to different shopping malls and things.
Okay. So, Mr. Steven, in your experience as the dean, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen either one of your offices come across when it comes to helping international students?
Yeah, I think Yanfei touched on most of them. After students are here, you're saying? Yeah. So I think it's important to realize that for an American student to go from a U.S. high school to a U.S. community college, U.S. four-year college, U.S. university is a major transition, is a major change in their life.
Okay.
Even more so for an international student. I mean, their journey to get here was very arduous, very long, and expensive as well. Yeah. And now they're uprooting, and in many cases, their families are far away. So I think number one is it takes time, that kind of adjustment model, but I think cultivating a culture of belonging, which, as Yanfei mentioned, connects to friendships. The number one factor in retention at U.S. universities and colleges is friendships. Okay. And so that sense of belonging and connection is something that takes time. I think DVC does a particularly great job at that. But it's an ongoing challenge. And for us, I think one thing that I've really enjoyed about working with the DVC International Office, Student Office, and others at our colleges as well is that I think we have a mindset of continually innovating, improving a little bit by bit. What can we do to improve to get better? Okay. That is number one, I think the number one overall challenge. That is not just about cultivating this belonging among their peers and their friends and American students, equally important, but also connecting with different support service offices like academic counseling and all that. Is that connection is in a kind of a broader sense. So I think that's the number one thing. Language is always a challenge. Students have to, as we say, demonstrate English language proficiency by a test or whatever, but it's different when you're in a different kind of experience as myself. It's you think you're fluent and can get by, but it's...
Yeah, I know. You think, coming from South Africa, I used to think I was good in English until I got here and I was saying something and people were like, what?
And part of it is, so from my perspective as a teacher in the background, what I've seen, and I used to do a lot of teaching English to speakers of other languages, academic writing and academic presentation skills are different culturally.
All right.
So a Korean student, for example, in academic writing, they're not going to know APA and MLA format and all that. Yes. But on top of that, writing in a second language closely mirrors your ability in your first language.
Yeah.
So some societies, they write very little in their first language, or they have different kind of practices. So in Korea, for example, you would put your main point at the very end.
Okay.
And so in the U.S., you have your introductory paragraph and your kind of thesis statement is at the beginning, and then you spell it out.
At the top, and then you break
it's
it
more
down
direct, whereas there's some variations there, which goes back to raising awareness among teaching differences and all that. That's always a challenge. Other academic kind of adjustments, plagiarism has been a big one that I've seen. Not so much recently, but it was a bigger thing in the 90s and early 2000s.
Okay.
With instances of faculty and students having different understanding of what plagiarism is, because it's a cultural construct as well. And so there's that, the academic part is there in addition to the kind of sense of belonging as well.
Yeah. And Ms. Yanfei, you made mention of the CPTs, OPTs. That touches on one of the topics that we also want to understand about, like student internships, learnerships. What is a CPT? What is an OPT? How do I get a CPT? Where do I get it? And do we have scholarships that you give to students, or do you have scholarships that you recommend, or can you just break that down for us?
Yes. So CPT stands for Curriculum Practical Training.
Okay.
It's once you apply for internship and you can, this is during the semester, you want to do an internship during the semester, then you can apply for CPT. This is like you register during the class time and take it during class time, and it's only limited during that semester. And for OPT, there's like a pre and a post graduation OPT.
Okay.
It stands for occupational practical training.
All right.
And students can have up to a year of like work experience after they graduate.
Okay.
So this needs to like apply early, and we do there's different like procedures. So we do run workshops for students, like to get them like prepared, knowing what it is. So because many students would like to look for internships or jobs afterwards, and this gives students the opportunity to work in the U.S. off campus.
Okay. So go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to that. So curricular practical training, by definition, is an integral part of the program of study. So it's doesn't have to be required for your major, but it's typically listed in the catalog, but it's a key part of it. So the nice thing about that too is that students are enrolled in a course, so they get the academic credit, but the course is not a classroom course. It's an internship, as you alluded to. So
it's a practical training.
Yeah. So there's been an example of students that do like computer science at DVC, and they worked for a web startup in San Francisco while getting credit for that as well.
Okay.
And then the other part I wanted to add on to was that one of the benefits of coming to a community college first, so for every certificate or degree level in the United States, you have the right to apply for a year of optional practical training. So students could technically do a certificate and then do the OPT afterwards. They could do an associate degree, then OPT afterwards. They can go on to a bachelor's degree and do it again.
Okay.
And so that's one of the benefits if they choose to follow that. So.
Okay. And does the CPT affect the OPT?
No, it's separate.
It's separate.
Yes.
So you can still enroll and then get an OPT and then finish and then get a CPT. You can do both?
Usually when you are in your studies, you do CPT. And then after graduate, most students
you can
do
still
the
go
OPT.
for the OPT.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Technically, it can affect it, yes, but it's not going to happen at a community college. They have to do, like, if they do like the full-time CPT will eat into the full-time OPT.
Okay.
But students aren't going to do like a year of full-time curricular training at a community college. So
they're only going to do like maybe a couple of months and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And about student scholarships and learnerships, do you as DVC or as Contra Costa College community have any scholarships or any links with scholarships that you give to, international students?
Over at DVC, we have a scholarship office.
Okay.
And actually, there is a misconception that many international students think that the scholarships are just for domestic students.
Oh, yeah.
And that is not true. Like, international students are eligible to apply for the DVC scholarships.
Okay.
And this year, I think we send out information to that, and many students have applied. Okay. So definitely look out for like DVC scholarships, and financial is always a big consideration.
Exactly. Yeah.
So whatever students can do to apply, yes, there's scholarships available. Okay. And also for our international student office, we also raised funds from different events, like a partnership with the Chase Center, like different tickets and things. So we were able to help fund some students who are in like emergency situations and things. Yes.
All right.
Yep. We get asked this question a lot. As Yanfei mentioned, there are a number of scholarships. International students are eligible for. They're not eligible for all of them, but there are some of them. We get asked this a lot. So number one, in realizing that tuition for higher education in the U.S. is expensive everywhere, especially when you're looking at that compared to different currencies. But there is a saying that our tuition is part of the scholarship compared to a 4-year where we're 25 or 50% of the tuition.
Okay.
Number two, the scholarships we don't have scholarships while students are applying for admission, but after they get admitted, they can be eligible for some of the partial scholarships. But one thing I wanted to highlight that we really kind of underscore in terms of promoting community college is there's a lack of awareness of how many 4-year colleges and universities offer transfer scholarships for students from community colleges, both domestic and international student scholarships.
Okay.
And there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of universities that offer scholarships for international students transferring from community colleges in the U.S. In fact, I would argue they're more plentiful and easier to obtain than for students coming from high school into the 4-year system. So we always focus on that plus the transfer data and statistics in terms of doors will be opened for the sons and daughters of these parents that are concerned about options and how am I going to fund this, because even the 2+2 funding model we show is not with any scholarship, but if you add a scholarship to that, it's at the end of 4 years, your same piece of paper that you'll obtain if you were to follow a 4-year degree. So.
All right. And also I wanted to get you guys' intake on the current changes on the OPT. I know that there's been like changes for, the requirements for the OPT and everything. I don't know, what do you think about that?
That's definitely when last fall, when the policy first coming out, there's a big wave of shock.
Exactly.
And plus it's affecting so many students and families and companies as well. So as it reveals, I think currently our understanding is that the students who are getting degrees from our U.S. institutions, they are not affected by the OPT sponsorship fees, right? The 100,000. So it's people who are not like getting degrees in the U.S., but if companies want to bring them over here to work, then the companies needs to pay for that fee.
Oh, so it's only charged to students I say like degree holders who came from outside.
Yes, not students, but for workers, foreign workers, companies want to hire from overseas. Their degree are not from the U.S.
Oh,
so that's a big also a big, as it reveals, it's not like affecting much less to the extent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I think this is about H-1B.
Yeah.
H-1B. So
that's right.
Yeah. So OPT is another topic.
Okay, it's
but
yeah.
I think we're going to find out. There is talk in the U.S. among government officials of ending OPT altogether.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think the latest that I've heard is later this month, in fact. I think April 15th is what I've heard. Tax day, ironically, is when we're going to find more clarity on that. But there's been a lot of advocacy by associations and university and college officials to the government to preserve OPT and the not just the economic benefits to the United States and the economic contributions, but the other myriad benefits in terms of diversity and workforce and all that.
Yes.
So that's kind of TBD. We're kind of in the midst of that. But H-1B was a major change for sure, and that's what I think you were talking about.
So it's both the topics are a little bit concerning because for the H-1B as well, in terms of like the monies and everything, and then also there's always rumors that maybe this is gonna affect the OPT. Maybe we might not have the OPT anymore. So it's just something that as an international student, then you see it unfold. You're like, what's going on? So yeah, it's very much concerning. And anyhow, on a lighter note, if there's anything that you would change about international student policies or international student, I don't know, anything that you would say, if I get the chance, maybe if as international student offices, not just DVC, but for all academics, if we can just change this or maybe do this way, it would help students.
You mean at the national level as a policy?
Yeah, be it national level or your own level, just with your experience as an advisor, seeing all the colleges with the exposure that you have, what's one thing that you think maybe if this was to happen this way, students would have, a better experience or,
I think right now internationally, for the international education, many people from overseas families are not so sure of coming to the U.S.
Exactly.
because of the policy. And as a professional in the field for 20 years, I keep thinking about the period when Clinton was in office.
Yes.
The exchanges that we had. And then to Obama period of time, a lot of student visitors exchange, also the public image that U.S. in the world. And that is that environment that people want to come over here to study.
Yes.
Now it's because of the policy and the geopolitical environment. A lot of families are choosing to study in Europe, Australia, or other countries, right? So this definitely affecting our international education so much.
Yes.
And make us, students are uncertain, and we are also kind of uncertain. However, what we can do, I think, once students decided that they are going to come, then we can try our best to help them along the way from the day they've been admitted to our college, through whatever we can provide. Maybe it's a visa support letter, or answering a lot of their questions to the way when they finally get over here, feeling more supported and connected, belonging to the community.
Okay. Yes. How about you, Mr. Steven? What's one thing that you think,
Yeah, so I'll preface this by saying I think that we're both coming from a position of passion. We're passionate about the benefits of international education and cross-cultural education for not just the international students coming over here, but also for the domestic students, for the faculty, for staff, it benefits everybody in the communities as well. So we're passionate about that, and it's extremely rewarding to work with international students. I can't think of doing anything else because you learn something almost every day. On the national level, something that is I'll use a positive spin, the word challenge, is that the U.S. is in rare company as a country that does not have a national international education plan. And so there's no formal goals about how many students or international students are we going to welcome into our country, issue visas to. There's no national goals around international education, unlike Canada, unlike UK, etc. So that connects in my day-to-day world to kind of misalignment between government agencies. So we're tasked with recruiting more international students. When I started here 10 years ago, the visa denial rate was only 14%. It was relatively easy to recruit students. Now it's above 40%. That's national level huge. For all programs of study. So for community college, I would venture to guess it's probably 60% denial.
Those are big numbers.
Some countries it's 75, 80% denial. So it's increasingly difficult, in addition to other geopolitical factors, and there's a lot more competition as well. Globally, students are looking to stay within their regions. A lot more competition within the U.S. as well. It's just more difficult to get students. But a national plan would make things, I think it would clarify things. There'd be less, to use the word, uncertainty about the process and all that. That's a national level. Can't control that. We've been advocating for this for a long time, and I realize there are different political administrations in office, so there may be a lack of continuity, but that's something that other countries do have that has transcended an administration. So there is continuity, which makes it easier for people like us to do our job, to bring students here. But in terms of what we can control, Yanfei touched on some things. I mean, we're constantly looking at tweaks to improve services, and then also on a bit higher level, we are now in the middle of gathering data for the district's first strategic international education plan. And this is something that we've never had. I will say that this is probably the most, I guess, in tune or focused on international education that I've seen among senior leadership across the district altogether. But individuals, of course, but just as a whole, now the senior leadership is wanting to know what is the different government organizations, the DHS, the ICE, CBIS, and all these things. What do they mean? How can we support students better? There's more focus on that than ever before. So that's a silver lining to some of the geopolitical landscape that we're trying to traverse right now. So we're, in part of this plan, we're gathering feedback we had a student focus group at DVC to hear about their experiences. We're reaching out to different stakeholders to hear about that. So that'll be, hopefully we're done with this in August or September, but that's a formal, in a way, it's a strategic, meaning long-term commitment to, it's really about improving services for international students. That's a step that we're taking.
That's big. And for Ms. Yanfei, any last words, any words of advice to an internet or a wannabe international student, someone who's going to be watching the show from, I don't know, wherever they're watching the show from, and they're like, I want to study the United States. Maybe I want to go to DVC. Maybe what's your advice? And also to current international students like myself, like what's one thing that you say to someone like me?
I think to study abroad in the US, it's a big decision, but it also opens so many doors. DVC is in a unique position in terms of its academic rigor, in terms of its support system, and also the environment for the student body, as well as for its location. It has so much more to offer, and I hope you have the opportunity and to come and explore. And definitely it's going to be a very meaningful period for your academic and professional growth.
All right. How about Mr. Steven? Any words of advice, any words of encouragement?
That was great, Yanfei. So, one thing we say is it is the most accessible, high quality, and likely path to excellent four-year institutions in the U.S. and beyond.
Yes.
DVC is, and our colleges in general. On top of that, the location, just to add to what Yanfei said, is really remarkable. It's a special place in terms of not just access to this kind of national hub of innovation, but in terms of weather and climate, which is also something we talk about.
Yeah.
And the access to 3 hours, your 4,000 meter mountains that get 10 to 20 meters of snow a year. You can do snowboarding in the Lake Tahoe area. You've got the coastline. I mean, the natural beauty around here is incredible. It's really unparalleled. And I think also one thing that stands out about California, in particular Northern California, this region is incredibly diverse demographically.
Okay.
And I think that lends itself to a welcoming environment for international students. And I think they'll feel comfortable here in terms of access to some of the food they may have back home and the markets and that type of thing. But it's in general, it's a very welcoming area that embraces diversity. And I think that's also adding to what DVC already offers.
All right. So once again, we want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for joining us. We are really humbled, to have the dean and the international student advisor with us. It's an honor. And that brings us to the end of our conversation today. My name is Aaron, and this